listening to the White Wall Sessions Radio.
White Wall Breakdown, take 1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to the White Wall Sessions Radio. I'm your host, Steve Zastro. On this week's episode, the Sioux Falls-based jam funk rock music of Soul Fredo, Americana roots rock band, The Empty Pockets. Also later in the hour, the pop-driven folk rock tunes of the Wrong Omar. To hear more on these artists, as well as other artists featured on the program, visit www.thewhitewallsessions.com. Soul Fredo is a funk jam rock group from Sioux Falls. The band is Zebulon Anderson on vocals, Jay Patswald on guitar, Chase Giebink on bass, Alex Olson on keys, and drummer Tyler Klusman. Soul Fredo's talented roster features seasoned musicians of the Sioux Falls music scene, which is evident in their intuitively tight tunes. The band has one release to date, 2015's Brown Bag EP. All right, once again here tonight on the White Wall Sessions, we're here with Soul Fredo from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Thanks, guys, for coming in and sharing your music with us.
Thank you.
All right, so from the top here, how about if we have Zeb Anderson, the singer, introduce each member and tell us what they play, if you would, please.
All right, well, to my right is Jay Patswald, plays guitar. Alex Olson on the keys. Tyler TK Klusman, TK with the BK,
There you go.
plays drums. And then Chase Giebink, Che on the bass. Chase on the bass.
All right, very good. So how long have you guys been, this band been in operation?
Well, this band goes back about 3 years, but this current lineup is probably, I would say 5, maybe 6 months.
When, January?
old. I can't remember. It's either, let's say 5. Let's say 5.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 months old.
I was actually surprised when you told me that earlier because, I mean, you guys really are really tight. I would have assumed you'd been together longer than that. And you also told me that Chase actually was playing drums before.
Yep. Chase did play drums.
Multi-talented.
No, not multi-talented, but I was kind of forced into the role of playing beats because we couldn't find a drummer. And good buddy of ours, Jay and I grew up with Wes, and
It was constant playing music together. Whether I always played guitar, but he played bass, drums.
But in order to get a band formed was me to hop on drums and let Wes play bass, and we kind of started and then got Zeb. He came in, then we had Aaron Keller, who I grew up with, come hop on keys, and that's how the original Soul Fredo was for about, a few years, and then Wes moved to Colorado, kind of broke up for a few months, and then this lineup started in, mid-January?
Something like that.
Do you think the overall sound of the band has changed quite a bit with the new lineup, or is it pretty similar?
No,
Yeah,
it definitely changed.
Definitely, yeah. We've got more of a harder funk, a little bit more rock influence than what we used to be. I think there's a lot more driving bass as well, and that's something that kind of like, I don't know, I enjoy listening to that type of music, so it's easy for me to get behind it, and sing to it too. So that's, kind of the way the band went. So
Well, Zeb and I talked before, getting the Soul Fredo 2.0 together, and I was screaming to
That's
him.
what we call it.
I was
Soul
screaming.
Fredo 2.0.
Well, I was screaming to him. I'm like, dude, we need to get a band together that plays hard funk. Like put me back on the bass, get a tight drummer, which we got.
We got to
TK.
start the dancing back in Sioux Falls. That's what's got to
I'm
happen.
not throwing way back on the dance, but then we got Alex Olson, who is the mastermind behind weird, awesome, raging keys. And then you got Jay, who is also sweet baby Jay.
Sweet baby Jay.
So then we kind of got together in a few months.
The only one without facial hair.
We wrote some songs.
I didn't notice that. You're right.
Yeah, it's actually in our logo.
On the kick drum logo too.
And the only one with a hat, so he's compensating for the facial hair with that.
Yeah.
Well,
the other
I'm
way,
watching
yeah.
you guys play, and I'm listening very carefully, and I noticed that, you're all really, really good on your respective instruments. I don't know how you guys split the money up after a gig, but I don't think you should pay Chase because he's having way too much fun over there. He's really getting down on that bass guitar.
Sometimes they tell me I have a little too much fun. And it can be a good or a bad thing.
Does that matter how many beers you had at that particular
No,
day or
no.
anything?
Yeah, something like that.
No.
It's just musically
Yeah, sometimes I
motivated.
just,
Guy likes to funk
He
it up.
uses the whole bass. Let's just say that.
Yeah, he uses the whole bass. He does.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Just a simple dude trapped in a cold
To hear more on these artists, as well as other artists featured on the program, visit www.thewhitewallsessions.com. Still to come, Americana roots rock band The Empty Pockets. Also later in the hour, the pop-driven folk rock tunes of The Wrong Omar.
You are listening to the White Wall Sessions Radio.
The Empty Pockets are an Americana roots rock band from Chicago. Although young in age, the Empty Pockets' passion and belief in their music has taken them on national tours, working with legendary manager David Spiro. The group is Erica Brett on vocals, Josh Solomon on guitar and vocals, Nate Bellin on bass and vocals, and Danny Rosenthal on drums. The Empty Pockets' most recent release, 2015's The 10 Cent Tour, was recorded and mixed by the band out of their Chicago-based studio.
A 1, 2, 3. I got 3 goose pillows, but I can't get to sleep because the train's bending over my bed. I sneak into work almost 20 minutes late, and the boss nearly rips off my head. He says, get your life together, boy, you won't be in mine, boy, I have you working out on the street. Well, stay with me, he walked away. I backed my desk and left that day. There's one place I'd rather be. Traded in my car for a tractor. I long for a big suntan in the shape of my glove. Traded in my car for a tractor. Kick off my boots and feel the fire beneath my toes. Whoa.
All right, once again tonight we are here with the Empty Pockets from Chicago, and thanks again for coming in
Hey, thanks for having us.
and sharing some lovely music, wonderful music,
Thank you.
and comedy. The comedy just never stops with these guys, I'll tell you what.
At least in our heads.
He's not laughing.
I've been laughing right along. I'm trying not to laugh at this point.
Okay, very
so.
good, very good. Be pro.
All right, so you guys have played in Sioux Falls, but it's been a while, and you're currently out touring on your new record, the 10 Cent Tour. All right. How about this? How about if we have Josh introduce all the band members and tell us what they play?
So these are all my bestest friends. This is Danny.
Ahoy.
He's a drummer.
Drummer.
Writes sort of, he and I are the original writers of the group. It's sort of expanded past that. It's my wife, Erica, on the other side of me.
Hello, radio.
She's playing more and more keys lately.
More and more.
If her ego could not get in the way of it. She's got a punishing ego to herself. And then there's Nate over there.
Yeah!
He's plays that one note instrument, and he insists on having 5 strings on it, and I think that's fine.
So I can have the widest range of one-note possibilities, Josh.
It's really 4 too many.
It's a lot of positions for one note.
I've
Very
heard, but you know.
You don't want to ask Nate about
I'll take all
positions.
comers, as it were.
All right.
I had like 2 things to say, and
Yeah, me too.
Break them out. Come on. Say what you gotta
we're
say.
touring with our sound guy Daniel. What's up, Daniel? Over there, with 2 Dannies, and he's never been out west driving, so he's never seen a come and go.
Oh, the come and go with
He
a
was
K.
like had his hand over his mouth and he's snickering to himself. He's like, "Did you see the sign?"
It's not funny to
Like,
people
yeah,
over
man.
here.
It's pretty funny the first time, though.
It is.
yeah.
I actually saw my first one in 1978 down in Iowa at the near Lake Okoboji, and boy, did we snicker.
I think that we saw our first one. I swear it was 2009. We did I remember we did 18 shows in 16 days. It was horrible.
On the way to South by Southwest.
Yeah, and we saw. I think that was the first time I remember being like, "What is that gas station?"
In like Oklahoma or
Yeah.
something like that.
The spelling leaves a lot to be desired.
It really does.
Yes.
Go G-O? What is that?
Yeah.
It should be G-O-O.
G-A-U-X.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. Come and
Come
go.
and goo.
Come and go.
There you go.
That's worse. Coming.
Can we say that on radio? Come and goo.
I don't think
It's
so.
with a
We
K,
can
so
say it.
why not?
Yeah, right. We
Yeah.
can. All right. So, how about a little bit about the background of the band here? You guys started like in 2006, and all original members except for one at that point, or has there been other changes?
Very few changes. It really, you know what happened? Danny and I were both in college, and we really had always wanted to start a band, but it's complicated to start a band. You guys, you know what I mean? And
Yeah. You need people.
And you
People are the worst.
Oh, people are the worst.
we had our eye on this bass player, Nate, and he's a little bit older than us. It's radio. I don't know why I'm pointing. Dan, do you remember having auditions? at
Yeah, they
Columbia?
were the worst.
Worst. We auditioned
So
like
many.
20. I could play the bass and the guitar. Danny could play the piano. So we didn't know. We were willing to audition whoever, and we just hated 25 people in a row. And more like their personalities, too. You know, you're just some bad people,
Not
man.
a looker in the bunch either.
We're not. It's so true. And Nate was like a very popular musician. He was maybe with 4 or 5 bands. He was very good. He brought his own bass and amp.
That's important.
That
and I
is
had a
important.
van.
That was really what it
Yeah,
was. He had
really,
this
it was key.
terrible white van.
You didn't need a ride even.
I don't know, baby.
You know what brought him into the group? What actually happened is we got this audition. I got this audition to do the Buddy Holly story. And Danny has done some acting before. Danny's a pretty good actor. And I thought, man, we could do this together. But we needed a bass player to do it with us. And Nate had never acted. You were so nervous.
So nervous.
For the
I
audition.
had no idea what was going on.
But he played an upright bass. So we got together like Peggy Sue and Maybe Baby, all these Buddy Holly songs. And I had long Kurt Cobain hair. And we went in and we did the audition. And they hated us.
Hated.
They really didn't like
Capital
us.
H.
Especially me.
Yeah, especially you.
They wanted Nate because he had an upright bass.
It's true.
But they didn't really
Because
like
he brought
me.
his own bass again. People wanted
Yeah,
him.
it's really.
man.
I'm telling you, that's
It's all
the.
about how much you bring.
And Erica's going to get into this story really soon. And they didn't like me very much, but they cast a different guy who played Buddy Holly, and he was a really good actor. Now he's everywhere. And
His name was Tom Cruise.
and he couldn't play the guitar. And
he's a
so
Scientologist.
about halfway through the rehearsal process, the early rehearsal process, they were like, "Oh no, we need somebody who can act and play the guitar." And suddenly, we were looking much sexier. that way.
And back then you were looking much sexier.
Thank you very much.
The unmitigated goal.
Put it out there, I had to.
Oh.
So we got the part in the show, and that sort of made us a band. You know, gave Nate a steady paycheck because he's just all about the money. Always has been.
That's all
Smart
I'm interested in.
And
All you musicians out there, take the lesson.
Unfortunately, it couldn't be farther from the truth. But
One note at a time and for all the money.
we bought the Ludwig kit that Danny still plays for the Buddy Holly show, and we rehearsed, and I vividly remember standing on stage with all these dancers around me, and there was this one real cute dancer next to me in these like gray, tight yoga pants, and I turned to her in the middle of the song, and we're on stage rehearsing really hard, and we had a really mean director. She's an amazing woman, but she was mean to everyone, and I said, man, I'm on stage, and I said, man, you can't wear those pants anymore. That's real distracting.
and my face went red because I was imagining like something's gone wrong and something's on the pants or something.
Everything had gone right, baby. Don't even worry.
Trust me, something was on the pants.
Ass cheeks. No. Is that one of the 7?
Can we say that? Is that
You
on?
already did. Obviously, you
It's
can.
vibe to the
Gold,
air.
darn it.
Ass is fine. Ass is fine.
Okay.
In context.
Okay,
Oh, well,
kind of
okay.
Yeah, cheeks. There we go. So to dominate all the time of the whole band, we eventually recruited Eric in the band, and Eric and I eventually got married, and we kept Nate because he still provides his basses, and you know, I don't know what you do, Dan, but you must do something.
I'm hilarious and I look great.
That is true.
that
is true.
Yeah.
Both of those
Well
things are
said.
true. That's how we got together. That's the real story.
All right.
And then
So,
yeah.
the first thing you guys did was like a theatrical production. After that run was over, did you know you were going to stay together at that point? Did you start writing music right away, or did you guys play covers, or a combination of both?
We did a lot of covers. Josh had already had like a pile of originals set up before we even started thinking about doing a band. He'd already written some songs, and Dan had been starting to write some songs as well. And so when it finally came to the idea of, oh, okay, we'll be a band, Josh had I don't know, you had maybe like 8 songs set up, and
Yeah, maybe an album's worth.
maybe an album's
That
worth.
ended up becoming our album Under the Bed.
We've got empty pockets, so let's not go far. You sing me a song while I play this guitar. Then I'll take us somewhere. Now we've got your car. You cannot pretend it with me. I know just who you are. After we get where we're going, hey, don't look now. It's still a secret. Are you ready? Get set. 'Cause I'm showing you my ain't nothing left to regret. We've got empty pockets, so let's just get stoned. Either way, I'd rather spend the day at home. I'll give you a ring. I picked out the perfect stone. Put it on and make you a queen. Come on, sit on your throne. The best of my life. Oh, it's an awful long time. Yes, it's hard to imagine. But if you'll be my wife, well, then I'm holding on. I'm coming through. I'm making all of it happen now. Hey, we've got empty pockets, so let's just. I said we've got empty pockets, so let's stay home. Let's go, fellas. We've got empty pockets, so let's stay home, yeah.
To hear more on these artists, as well as other artists featured on the program, visit www.thewhitewallsessions.com. Still to come, the pop-driven folk rock tunes of the Wrong Omar.
You are listening to the White Wall Sessions Radio.
The Wrong Omar is a folk rock blues solo act based out of Minneapolis. The stage name of singer-songwriter Joey Shaheen, The Wrong Omar combines multiple genres into pop-driven folk tunes. He has one album released to date, 2014's uniquely titled Zemblanity.
In a desert retreat, I play the piano alone. My love, I am afraid I finished the circle I used you to make to keep me together. Something else that usually breaks. A heart intend to wait for me to return one day. Love so plain to see, but when I got there, she had moved on ahead of me. She had a heart made for breaking. She had a heart made for loving you. She was right there for the taking. A hair brown and eyes are blue. I didn't forget, just a little afraid of breaking our silence. So many days calling a conference I no longer held constantly. A heart that would have stayed with me to the end of days. Her love so plain to see, and she was standing there right in front of me. She had a heart made for breaking. She had a heart made for loving you. She was right there for the taking. A hair brown and eyes of blue. To follow each other as years roll by. I promised to find her maybe later in life, to climb up the stairs that lead to her door, and in her arms to die. She had a heart made for breaking. She had a heart made for loving you. She was right there for the taking. A hair brown and eyes of blue.
All right. Once again, tonight we're here with the Wrong Omar, a fine singer-songwriter, guitar player, harp player, and percussionist, and keyboard player from Minnesota. And thank you for coming in again tonight and sharing some music with us.
Very welcome.
All right. So how long have you been in the music business? Or how long have you been playing for your own enjoyment even?
I ended up quitting my corporate gig about 5 years ago. And locked myself in the basement with a metronome and started going for it. It was about 5 years ago. October.
And you hadn't even played guitar up to that point, or had you
No,
played?
I'd been playing. I was a closeted player, you know. I nursed my ambition through the years by buying studio gear and putting it in my basement. Was my approach. But then my daughter was majoring in music at Augsburg, and she was a junior, and she said, "Dad, we should get in a band." And I said, "You sure you want your dad in the band?" And she said, "Yeah." And so we got a band together, and I started finding gigs for us down in Minneapolis, and we had a lot of fun. And I found I still had legs for it, and I started writing again, kind of in a different vein, because I had been writing all through the 80s and 90s and the noughties. And I started doing more of this stuff, more storytelling type of stuff. And I couldn't convince a bunch of recent college grads to jump in a van or go to Europe and tour before they started their long life of labor. And so I figured, screw it, if they're not going to do it, I'll do it. And so it was about 3 years ago we took our first tour. 3 months we went around the country, homeschooled a 12-year-old boy. We must have logged 10,000 miles. I mean, we zigzagged our way across the entire U.S. About 30 shows in 3 months, and it kind of went from there. That was a longer answer than you kind of were prepared for.
We'll take all the information we get. Now, when you say
that's my story.
When you say we toured, that would be you and your wife and
the wife unit.
All right, so let's go back, talk about your daughter. You said you were playing in a group with your daughter. First of all, what is her name?
Becky Shaheen.
Becky. What does she play instrument-wise?
She does a little bit of everything. She ended up getting a job within the Groove Recording in Minneapolis, and they have a huge music library, and she managed it for many years, and now she's in sales. She's been flying to New York and L.A. She's been on the WB lot, Good Morning America, and HBO and all this other junk, placing music and doing some writing, too. So she's in the money stream. Blah, 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 blah. She's making money in music.
We don't.
Enough about her.
We don't get too many people on here that actually make money from this, so that's interesting to hear about once in a while, at least.
She makes money. Cool. There are people making money. They make money.
Very cool. So now...
And some of my stuff ended up on there. I interrupted you.
That's
so
fine,
some of the stuff
fine.
that we did together ended up on some shows. So we're getting actual royalty payments for it.
Well, that's cool. Nice piece of mail to get.
Yeah.
All right. So the kind of stuff you're writing now, how is it different than the kind of stuff that you were writing earlier when you were doing it just in the basement?
Well, I had a band in college, Michigan Tech. It's up UP of Michigan. And we were like a frat house party band, AC/DC and stuff. So I started writing that was in '83, giving away my age here, and started writing songs on a 4-track. And I'm kind of like the Bee Gees. If you went back into my MP3 catalog, you'd hear songs, 80s style songs, long hair metal, power ballads, and all this stuff. So I kind of went through all that stuff. And when I came back out, I wanted more portable songs that you could just take, play on a street corner with a guitar that didn't need any special production or treatment. And that's kind of been the model all along. Simpler tunes that are easier for session players and other musicians to just jump in on, and more story-driven.
All right. So when you were touring all over the country, is there any particular places that you enjoyed and maybe you connected better than others, parts of the country, the Southeast or the East Coast or the Midwest?
Montana really liked me. I've been there 3 times. It's great to go there in June when it's too buggy in Minnesota. I love the Southeast. I love Knoxville, and I really love Savannah, Georgia. We spent an afternoon just walking down this huge, long corridor, all green space, and they had statues from hundreds of years ago, and you just get a great historical sense of everything they've been through there, all the heroes from pre-revolutionary period all the way on and down to the wharf, and I thought Savannah was great. You see parts of the country, so many cool cities in this country. Louisville was great. some towns I've already forgotten about. But Nashville was great. We went there about 3 times. Played on the street corner there. Played at Tootsie's. I think it was 3 in the afternoon upstairs, but I played there.
In, out, open, shut, you don't spit it out. Up, down, another bout, another round, you don't spit it out. A free, a locked, paper, scissors, rock, why don't you just spit it out? Spit it out. I put everything in a basket while you hold tight to your vest. Words you can't seem to say. You're looking for a reason why I stay and I leave. Will those words come out one day? Now are you in or are you out? Can you stay with all your doubts? Why don't you just spit it out? Spit it out. Now you can scream and you can shout right to my face out loud, but please just spit it out. Spit it out. Down, up, another round, another bout. You never let it out. A left, a right, another day, another night. You never let it out. You're open, you're closed, you flip a sign around, it goes, you never let it out. You never let it out. With all I have on the table, do me honest words if you're able. Tell me, have you crossed the line? There's no shame in showing the cards that you're holding. We called each other down, now it's showdown time. Now are you in or are you out? Can you stay with all your doubts? Why don't you just spit it out? Spit it out. Now you can scream and you can shout right to my face out loud, but please just spit it out. Spit it out. With all I have on the table, do me honest words if you're able. We called each other down, now it's showdown time. Now are you in or are you out? Can you stay with all your doubts? Why don't you just spit it out? Spit it out. Now you can scream and you can shout right to my face out loud, but please just spit it out. Spit it out. In, out, open, shut, free, locked, paper, scissors, rock. Why don't you just spit it out? Just spit it out.
To hear more on these artists, as well as other artists featured on the program, visit www.thewhitewallsessions.com. Whitewall Sessions Radio is produced by Spectrum Films. Executive producers are Doug Taylor and Jeff Zuger. Director of Broadcast is Dave Palmer. Whitewall Sessions Radio is produced and mixed by Chad Conrad. I'm your host, Steve Zastro. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to join us next week, same time, same station.
You're listening to the White Wall Sessions Radio.